Hello everyone and welcome back to QuipScope. It's the show where we take a look at a brand new game that's coming out or just come out and talk about it, give you our thoughts and then end with a little quip. My name is Peter.
And my name's Ben.
Ben, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You have been playing a game of old that has now become a game of new.
I have indeed. Destroy All Humans, the original one back from the PlayStation 2 days.
Yes, very popular, certainly in a kind of nostalgic sense. Or, you know, back then, a lot of people had this game, a lot of people enjoyed this game, and it's now been brought back to life by THQ Nordic.
It has, 15 years later. It's been brought back. It was originally published by THQ, and of course Nordic Games then bought a load of IP from THQ when they went bust. And I think they did some up-reses of Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 on various consoles over the years, but now this is a full-on remake from the ground up, following hot on the heels of the SpongeBob remake they did last month.
Yeah, and like the SpongeBob remake, you and me as well, we didn't play the original Destroy All Humans, right?
No.
Or not much.
No, we did not do that.
So it's probably worth just pointing out before we get into our thoughts, as that, I don't know, that might have some effect on how much me or you could enjoy this game.
Of course, you know, as I said with SpongeBob, and there are some parallels there because it's from the same, you know, publisher and the same sort of idea. We didn't play this game, and that doesn't mean that we don't appreciate what the remake has done for fans of the original. But I'm not hugely impressed with this remake.
Yeah, I think you can still look at something from a point of view of what any modern game should be like, and still have an opinion on it. So, what do you want to talk about first? How does it look? Has it at least been up-resed in a nice way? Does it look okay or not?
Yes, it looks better than the original, that's for sure.
Yes,
the art style they've gone with is still sort of the cartoony design of, you know, human beings and so on. To give a brief overview of what the game is, quickly.
Sure, for those who don't know.
Yeah, so it's set in 1959 in the United States, and I'm reading from Wikipedia now because it so concisely explains what the game is about, and parodies the lifestyles, pop culture, and political attitudes of this time period. And you control an alien who's coming back to Earth because apparently the Furons, which is the race of aliens you are, came to Earth a very, very long time ago and spread their DNA, around.
Seed.
Precisely, and now since then they've discovered that they can just clone themselves forever, and so they don't need to reproduce anymore, but the quality of the genetic material each time they clone is slightly reduced. So they're going back to Earth to hopefully get some kind of DNA that still exists in all humans, so that they can, you know, shore up, if you will, their DNA reserves for when they clone themselves endlessly. And your predecessor, you play as Crypto 136, gets sent to Earth and you don't hear back from him. So you play as Crypto 137, you go to Earth, you're entirely in the United States, and it's all sort of parodying Cold War fears and the commies and the Reds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
While navigating all the sort of chest-beating American pride kind of stuff that also goes along with that. And you're trying to unseat the government and slowly work your way up to the top so that you are in charge of the whole country for some end. They don't really revisit the whole DNA thing as you go, to be honest. I think story obviously isn't what this game was known for. It was known for being an alien running around and firing anal probes at people and controlling people and, taking on their disguises and trying to sneak into military bases and stuff and so on and so forth. So that's the basic concept.
Do you remember Stubs the Zombie?
I don't remember Stubs the Zombie, no.
I've just been looking that up because it's a similar thing where instead of playing as the alien killing humans, you play as a zombie who kills humans. And that is set in 1959, would you believe?
Oh, wow, look at that.
And is a similar thing where you just use kind of stereotypical tropey abilities and things. Anyway,
yes.
Back to the game we're supposed to be talking about. How does it play in the sense of, does it feel like, we talked in the podcast recently about, or it's coming out actually this weekend at time of recording, in terms of improving on an old game when it's remade, quality of life touches, changing archaic control schemes and so on. Does it feel okay?
It feels like a PS2 game.
Yeah.
Now, having not played the original PS2 game, obviously I have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
But I mean, I've got to say, this feels like a PS2 game. It really does, with a shiny new skin on it. And you're right, we do talk about this in the podcast tomorrow that's releasing.
Yeah.
About how remakes like Spyro and Crash, they take the original concept and they improve it and they modernize it. And there have certainly been some quality of life improvements here. There's like upgrade trees that you can have, and according to pre-release material, they've improved the combat and so on, but it still just doesn't feel like a modern game. And like I said at the start, this game is for fans of the original. And that is going to be a little bit confusing to you or I, because the original, it didn't review incredibly. It got 74 on PS2 and 76 on Xbox on Metacritic, so it's not a bad game by any means. But again, it's a bit of a strange choice for a remake when you're looking at bringing back an old game and rebuilding it from the ground up. So this isn't so much a criticism of what the studio has or hasn't done with the game in the remake. I think they've done a perfectly adequate job of remaking this 15-year-old game that for the time even wasn't groundbreaking, but in 2020 it just feels especially dated. There are just absolutely mad difficulty spikes all over the place. The combat is still not great. You hold L2 to lock onto someone, and while you're holding onto them, locking onto them, while aiming, you use the right stick. You sort of flick it left and right to switch targets. But if you're running around and you're also trying to control the camera, as you would maybe be able to do in more modern games where you're able to lock on and also manipulate the camera at the same time, it can result in your lock on just going wildly all over the place.
Right. And
visually, beyond the fact that maybe the skyboxes are bigger, the loading times are better, and the loading times still aren't great. I don't see any, this game graphically isn't astonishing. I don't see any reason why this should be a PS4 game in 2020 is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I feel like this game could have quite easily come out towards the latter end of the PS3, Xbox 360 era, or certainly the very start of the generation. It just feels like a strange candidate for a remake. Yeah. And it feels like the developers have done a fantastic job of remaking that game, in that it's a PS2 game from 15 years ago and it still feels like a PS2 game from 15 years ago. So in that sense, I don't see this game appealing to anyone other than fans of the original. And if you're a fan of the original, then I've got some fantastic news for you, because this game is back and there's a very good chance you're going to absolutely bloody love it. But this game, I could not really recommend it to anyone who wasn't a fan of the original. I just don't think it holds up, and I don't think that the remake has really done what you and I both agree remakes should do, which is enhance and improve on and modernize the original game. It uses the original sound files for all the voice acting, which may well be appreciated again by fans of the original and probably saved them a load of money and time in development. But it sounds compressed and bad, and you get used to it, but it sounds like a PS2 game too. You got all these modern sounding sound effects and musical scores and stuff, but then when the people speak, it sounds weirdly compressed, like it was originally recorded in a much cheaper, smaller studio, it probably in 2004 or 2003, to then be squashed onto a DVD that didn't have a great deal of capacity and then played on a PS2. You know, there's a lot of. It feels like an inexpensive remake, and I really want to stress that I think fans of the original will really like it, but that I don't think it's really going to appeal to anyone beyond that.
Yeah, it sounds very much like a remake for the fans specifically. You know, you talk about Spyro and Crash, and I think they brought themselves up to modern expectations enough that new players could have a go and think, oh yeah, this is alright, I enjoy this. But yeah, if you know, for example, someone who's not played the old game before isn't going to appreciate that the voices are the same as the old ones. You're not going to recognize them because you didn't play it in the first place. And actually, I'm just looking at something here. One of the things they have seemingly done at least one thing that is innovative, and they've kind of added some new content, which is that apparently the Area 42 zone was in the original game and could be explored, but there was a cut mission that wasn't in the first game that made it to the remake. But again, you know, I don't even know if you knew that or not. But
I think I did, because I was tracking my mission progress on a wiki for the original game.
Right, yeah.
And I did play a mission that wasn't there. I know there is, sorry to cut you off, but there is some cut again, you know, this isn't bad. It's not offensive, but it's just not great. And yes, there is some cut content in here, and they have made a few tweaks and changes along the way for sure.
Yeah, but I guess that's what I'm saying, is that even that, you know, the cut content, if you'd not been following along on the wiki, you would have just assumed it was probably something from the original game. And so again, it's difficult to it's not I guess it's not enough to just add in some new levels and stuff. You really ought to, where possible, try and improve on the way a game handles and the way a game sounds, and you know, really try and modernize those features, because unless you do that, it's the stuff that you have done is not going to be appreciated by new players, because they're not going to know that this was ever not in the original, which is, I don't know, that's a weird way to look at it, and that seems a bit harsh, really. I think I'm being a bit critical, but I think when I saw that this game had been announced and you know, some of the gameplay that I've seen of it, I just look at it and I'm like, yeah, it does just looks like a remastered PS2 game rather than a remade one, I guess is the point. You know, this had a remake budget and has been marketed as a remake, and yeah, they've done some tweaks for sure, but ultimately it just looks like a remaster to me, and that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I think that's it really. It's just as I said, I think the best description I can give of it is that it is a low-tier quality remake, in that you will get the game you played in 2005 with a few changes, but don't expect any more than that. And if you're a fan of the 2005 game, then fantastic. If you weren't, I don't think you're really going to find much joy here, because it really is. It's the return of the AA game, which we've been waiting for a while, because AA games have sort of fallen away. For the longest time, it's been either huge open world AAA games or indie game. And that's kind of it. It's kind of been it for ages. And there's scope for games like this, but as a remake of a game that's been out for 15 years, and with the benefit of 15 years of evolution in the games industry, to release a game that is so similar to the original, not in a tribute-paying fashion, but in a, I could just boot up the original game. Yeah. I don't think that's not going to cut it for me, and I didn't have the greatest time with it. But again, I'm not a fan of the original. But those are my thoughts. There we go. Take that with a pinch of salt if you're a fan of the original. But honestly, I recommend it to fans of the original.
Yeah.
And everyone else, I would treat it with caution, personally.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me from what I've seen and heard. Good. Well, thanks everyone for watching and listening. And stick with the channel for more hot takes on brand new games in the coming months and years. And I've been Peter, he's been Ben. It just leaves enough time to say, destroy all humans. More like destroy all humans, because it's like the second version of this original game.
Yeah, destroy all humans. More like destroy all. You may like it if you played the original.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
That's
By the way,
I like that.
if you want to see more of this game running, I'm streaming it right now. If you're watching at the time of release, but also that will go up on our VODs channel. I'll be playing it for a couple of hours. So if you want to see a bit more of it, then there you go.
Oh, very good. Destroy humans, more like break the internet, because Ben's doing a live stream.
There it is. Yeah, I'll get my big arse out and break the internet.
Wonderful. Good. Well, with that, we'll leave you with that image, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to go home happy today. Okay, we'll see you again soon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.